Hi everybody, my name is Laura Lomeli again. This is the project for the axial skeleton. So I put some dots with different colors and to kind of point and see where everything's at. And we're gonna start with the frontal, which is right here. I put a yellow, like a blue dot, so you can see this is the frontal, the cranial bones, the frontal, the parietal, it's right here on top of the head, and then the occipital is going to be right here in the back of the head. The external occipital protuberance, what is it for? Is used as a landmark in the 1020 system in electroencephalogram recording. And we're gonna go with the temporal external view, which is the temporomandibular joint, which is right here. The red dots like on the side, right here on the side. The mastoid process, which I put a yellow, which is gonna be, which is gonna be right here in the back. I put a yellow dot, which is right there. And then the styloid process, I did a green dot, which is behind this bone, like the bone cheek right here in the back of the head. And the external acoustic meatus, I put a blue dot, is actually the bottom of the external acoustic meatus. And I'm sorry, in the styloid process. It's in the bottom right here. And the squamous part, which is the blue dot, it's right there. So the yellow, again, is the mastoid process. The green is going to be the styloid process. And the blue is the external acoustic meatus. The squamous is going to be the blue. Actually, it's a little hard because it's kind of small, but I try my best. And then the internal view, it says right here, the petrous part of temporal bone. What structures are housed within this part of the temporal bone is the mastoid, the tegment, tympani, and the jugular fossa. Internal acoustic meatus, what passes through this opening? The facial nerve travels through the facial. The phenoid external view, lateral and orbital parts graded in wing, superior orbital fissure, what passes through this opening? I find out it says the lacrimal and the frontal division of the ophthalmic nerve. The internal view, which actually on top of the skull, I did this, so I put some like blue dots in there, right there. So those blue dots is the lesser and the greater wing. So the optical nerve, what passes through this opening? So I find out the cranial nerves 3, 4, 5, lacrimal nerve passes through this optic nerve canal. The sella turcica, what structure sites is in this fossa? It is the pituitary gland. We're gonna put this back because I still have the other part. And ethmoid, inside, it's hard to tell, but it's inside the nose. And the internal view is the crista galli. What does this do? Is a median ridge of bone that projects from the cibriform plate of the ethmoid bone. In the cibriform plate, what passes through these holes is the ophthalmic nerves, passes from smell and receptors. The structures, they are actually here on the top. I'm gonna remove this because, you can see I put some colors in there. So the coronal, I put the blue dot, is the one that passes through our skull from here to there. Here to here, I put the blue dot. And then the sagittal is the green one, is the one that goes across your head and is like going down and up like that. So I put a blue dot right there. The lambdoid is the green, which is actually the back of your head. So I turn this around and you see the yellow dot right there. The squamous, we have it actually like on the side of the ear, which across like around here on the head. And I put a red one, and it's closer to the coronal side. So we put this back. Okay, so the facial bones. The facial bones, the maxilla and the alveolar process. The maxilla is right here on top, and the alveolar is on the bottom. The nasal, I put actually the one that fell. The nasal is the green one. I put it back. The green right there. You can see it. The bone, the nasal. And the sagmatic, what does this bone sagmatic arc is the red, which is right here, this kind of bones right there. Oops, it fell. It's right there. And then the ethmoid is inside the nose again. The bone, what those bones form the bony nasal septum inside the nose nasal cavity and inferior nasal concha. The mandible is like the red part, which is right here. The mandible is this part right there. That's the mandible. And we're gonna go to the vertebral column. So I'm gonna point the cervical. I'm gonna turn this guy around. It's right there. So I put some dots too. I'm gonna make it closer. So from here to here, from this part, the bottom of the skull, it's falling apart. You count 7 vertebrae, and that's going to be the vertebral column. Okay, this part, it makes your arms move up, down, and be able to have movement in your arms from here to here. And then the thoracic, it has 12. So once you count 7 here, you count 7 down, and that's the thoracic part. And that makes your chest from here, like here down, to be able to have movement in this part of your chest. Okay, so you count 12. After that, we're gonna have the lumbar. So the lumbar has 5, if you can see it right there. So I put a blue dot. So it has 5, and the lumbar, what makes this, your legs have movement. Okay, and then the sacrum, the coccyx, it controls your bladder and the sexual function, which is right there. And the thoracic, I'm gonna point the spinous process, which is the red dot right here. That's the spinous process. The transverse is on the sides, the yellow dots that I put in each side. And it's falling apart, but I try my best. It's not sticking, but it's the yellow, like the pointy out of the, like the, not the ribs, but the vertebrae, like the outside. That's the transverse process. Anyway, so we're gonna go back to the we continue to the sternum. So I'm gonna turn this around, this guy right here. And this one I didn't put dots, but I think I remember. So the manubrium is the abdomen, which is right here, this little square right there. And then the body is gonna be the long line right here. This one is the xiphoid process, and we actually can feel it right there in our ribs. The jugular notch is the body part, which is these tiny little bones that are sticking out, like these parts right there. That's what it is. And the ribs, we have the true and the false. So the true ribs, they're marked right here. They're in the outer part of your ribs right there. And the false, they're right here. They're cartilage. They're attached to the sternum. But the true ones are like in the back, and then the false are the cartilage in the middle. Okay, thank you. I hope I did good, and we continue with the next one. Ciao.